Well, my friends, it's been a long time that we've been waiting, but finally, we do have the Ford Bronco Sport with us. This is the first of the 3 Bronco vehicles that Ford is going to be launching over the course of this year. This one being the more consumer-friendly version. If you're not super into off-roading, but you still want to do some of it, you still want to have a good ride on the road, this might be the one for you. This, my friends, is a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport Badlands, the top-end trim for our market here in Canada. Pricing is actually pretty similar to other compact crossovers in the segment, and if you're watching this now, the time that it comes out, we are going to be doing a showdown comparing this to the Ford Escape, so you can kind of see what its cousin has to offer for about the same price point, because they are built on the same Ford C2 platform. So I think it's going to be interesting. People will have an opportunity to go either into an Escape or another regular crossover, or if they want something a little different, they can go with the Ford Bronco Sport. Now, underneath the hood of our model is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 250 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. Not bad numbers in the segment. And if you go with the other trims, you would get a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder engine. So this one has a little bit more power. We also have an 8-speed automatic transmission with flappy paddles. It also has an oil cooler, which is better for off-roading, so then that way you don't overheat the transmission. Now, there are a couple differences between this Badlands and other Bronco Sports. The drivetrain on this is a 4x4 system with a liquid-cooled power transfer unit, a disconnectable drive shaft with 4x4 lock, and a dual-clutch rear drive unit with a differential lock. If you go with the basic Bronco Sport, you're getting just a regular air-cooled PTU with a single-clutch RDU, and there's no 4x4 lock. So if you're looking for the most hardcore version of the Bronco Sport, this is the trim to go with. Now, unfortunately, you only have a 2,200 pound tow rating with this vehicle. It's kind of strange. The Ford Escape can go up to 3,500 pounds, and it's essentially the same vehicle. But the way that this is configured, you're unable to go higher than that. So this is more if you're putting more of the stuff in the vehicle. With about a 1,000-pound payload, you can put kayaks or boats and bikes and all sorts of different things on this. Ford says there's over 100 factory-approved accessories for the Bronco Sport with multiple attachment points all over the vehicle to be able to use those accessories. So you have some customization options here, which you don't get with other vehicles. I mean, compared to anything else in the segment, you usually just get a roof rack and maybe a trailer hitch or an accessory hitch, but this, you can do quite a bit more. So it's more for the outdoors type person who wants to do a lot more than just driving to the parking lot and getting groceries. Now, also compared to the regular Bronco Sports, this has a more off-road tuned suspension. It has both front and rear independent suspension, so you have pretty good ride on this, but you do have a little bit more off-road control. And this one was actually optioned with the larger off-road tires. These are 235/65 R17 all-terrain tires. So a little meatier tires. I mean, to be fair, they're not that much meatier. It's about 10 millimeters more, but still the idea is you have a little bit more when it comes to off-road capabilities with the Badlands. Plus, we have better ground clearance on this vehicle because of the tires. Gives us about an inch more ground clearance than you would get on the regular Bronco Sport. Now let's talk about the exterior design of the Bronco Sport. It is a very squared off vehicle, very similar to some Land Rovers out there. You can see that there are some styling cues from larger Land Rovers like the Defender that was just released as well. Up front we have kind of a signature front end. Ford says that it's reminiscent of the first generation Bronco. Instead of having a big Ford badge on the front, it has a big Bronco badge with these circular daytime running lights and horizontal bars that run beside it. It looks pretty cool. It's a very unique look. You're definitely not going to miss it on the road. When it comes to our Badlands trim, the badging is white, and you would get different badging. It would be actually colored to the vehicle if it's on the other trims, but ours comes in white to distinguish this as the Badlands Edition. Now, also, normally the roof is black, but ours is optioned with the gray version. You can have two-tone colors on this vehicle. We also have the roof rack rails in black. So there are a number of features on the outside of this vehicle, including, as I mentioned, the full LED headlights up front. They're very unique. Keyless entry, a remote starter, and the security code pin pad on the driver's side door. Now, when we go around back, you'll see that it is a very squared off design back there as well. It's not just the front end. And I find that there are some design traits from older Ford models, like 2 generations ago, the Escape has sort of the same button placements and markings to open up the rear hatchback area, even something like the Ford Flex. So it's got a lot of new parts on it and a lot of older, inspired parts as well, which I think is kind of cool. Also on the back, one of the things that makes this very unique in today's market is it has a dual tailgate. So you have a tailgate and a separated piece of glass that can open up so you can get into it easier. So that's something that we really don't see anymore. A lot of older SUVs had that. Today though, pretty much non-existent, so it's nice that you have that. There's also a rear 5-in-1 parcel shelf that allows you to configure things slightly differently. You can pull it out and have a small table. You can put it in fully and have 2 different shelving areas to be able to put things. The only thing that I do find, since it's a hard plastic, there's no rubber grips on it. If you have things in the back of your trunk, like for example tripod equipment and bags, they will fly all over the place. So it would have been nice if those had some amount of rubberization on it, just to give it a little bit of grip so your things didn't fly around. You can remove it if you wanted to. You can hide it behind the seats. So there's some customization options back there. Plus, built into the tailgate itself on the inside are 2 movable LED lights. You can rotate them and turn them into the direction that you need them for. So if you are working back there and it's dark out, you do have some light, and it's not just the regular lights built in that you would find on a tailgate. So it's kind of cool, small little features like that. The back end of this, again, very similar to a lot of off-roady type of vehicles. I like it. I like the look of it. You've got the Bronco Sport in white on the back, and the only Ford badge you're going to find, except for the ones etched on the windshield and windows, is on the back left corner of the tailgate. In fact, even the key fob says Bronco on it, so you're going to be hard-pressed to find any other Ford badges on this vehicle, which is kind of interesting. Now, when it comes to the Badlands, Ford expects this will be about 15% of the total Bronco Sport sales, with an additional 5% in the US being the first editions, which is sort of a jazzed up version of this. So about 20% total would be the Badlands, and then they expect the other ones to be sold as the other trims that they make available. And they aren't really that easy to understand. You know, it's not like EX, SX, whatever we've kind of become used to, or in Ford's language, SE, SEL, Titanium. They've made them different, giving them unique names, but it will make it a little difficult for those who aren't seasoned enthusiasts in this new Bronco Sport to know which trims are which. Now, the interior on the Bronco Sport is kind of small for this segment. If you look at the on-paper numbers, the dimensions for the interior, it is kind of small compared to the competition, but you do get a lot more like usable space, I'd say, even though the numbers are small. Because the vehicle is so squared off, I feel that there is more space in this, despite it not being there. So it is sort of like magic. Now, our Badlands package comes with an 8-way driver seat. There's no memory options, with a 6-way power passenger seat. We do have leather seating on here with auto dimming mirror, a 10-speaker B&O audio system, dual zone automatic climate control, HD radio, power moonroof, remote start, reverse sensing, a heated set of leather seats, and the wireless phone charger. So pretty good kit on here. The only thing, again, that we'd be missing on this would be something like a head-up display. I don't see that necessarily coming for this vehicle anytime soon, but that would be one tech feature that you don't get on the Bronco Sport. And we also have the Ford Co-Pilot 360 Assist Plus that adds active cruise control, evasive steering assist, navigation, and speed sign recognition. That's on top of the other safety tech we have, like blind spot monitoring and lane keep assist. So it's got a full suite of tech, as you would expect to find in this price point in this segment. Now, unlike the full-size Broncos that are going to be coming out later, this is still using Sync 3. It's an 8-inch screen. It works pretty well. You do have a front and rear backup camera. The front one is more for rock climbing, but you can use it out there. Since there's no front parking sensors, might come in handy. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come with Sync, and as I mentioned, there's navigation, Sirius XM, and all that. So you got all the tech and features with it that you would need. Now, the backseat passengers don't get left out. There is an air vent in the center armrest, so they have a little bit better airflow. But on the backs of the front seats, you do have some interesting kit there. We have the mole straps. It allows you to put some gear in there, kind of what the U.S. military uses on their equipment packs. You have that on the back of this. On top, there's also a pouch that's padded, like you would find on a padded laptop or tablet case. So if you do have an iPad or something you want to put in there, it will be a little bit more secure from getting kicked or bumped around. And if your kids have something that they want to put in there too, you've got that option. So those are kind of cool back there, different than what we've seen on any other vehicle out there. And again, it kind of goes to the nature of this vehicle, which is more for an outdoorsy adventure type of person. So those might come in handy for those type of situations. So those are on the back of those. Now, we mentioned the 5-way convertible cargo management system in the back. There's also a 400-watt power inverter on this vehicle, so you can plug in different accessories. You need to power things. You do have the options with that. So if you are using this as kind of like a mobile office, you want to use that little table in the back, you've got some options there. And finally, the interior floor on this trim is rubberized. You can take out the little floor mats that are on here, and if you really needed to, you could hose out the interior. So it's a little bit more washable, a little bit more mud friendly. If you're getting dirty, you can take the carpets out, and you've just got the rubberized mats on the bottom with some grips on it, so you do have that. over pretty much any other vehicle in this segment. So again, going back to the fact that this is a very off-road, very outdoorsy, adventure-focused vehicle, you can tell it's not just taking a design and making it work on a Ford Escape. Ford has definitely worked out how this would be beneficial to people. Now, it's not necessarily going to be for everybody. That's the thing. This isn't going to be a replacement for something like the Ford Escape, but it gives people an option to have something that maybe fits their lifestyle. I do expect it to be a small segment of people, but the fact that it exists is great. More competition means more choice for consumers, which is ultimately great for everybody. So whether you're buying this or not, the fact that it exists is good. Now, we've talked about the outside, we've talked about the inside. There isn't much else to go on about unless we get on the road. So let's hit the road and go over everything else you need to know if you're in the market for the 2021 Ford Bronco Sport. All right, I am on the road now. We are not doing any off-roading as much as I would love to. I don't have the capability to do it. So it's much easier if I don't. There's tons of reviews out there, and I'm sure a lot of people have had a chance to take it off-road and do better things. So go watch those videos. For our purposes here, we're going to be completely on the road. But the idea is that this it does work pretty well. I'll tell you right now, though, I'm filming this after doing the showdown, comparing it with the Ford Escape. So I drove the Escape and this back to back, so I have a good idea of how that is. Plus last week we also had the Hyundai Tucson. So if you're looking at the segment, not necessarily because this is more outdoorsy or because it's more of an off-roading vehicle, you're looking at this as an alternative for some other crossovers. When it comes to the ride, it's almost as good. It's just a little firmer, I guess. It's hard to explain. You'd really have to sit in it, but you know, other compact crossovers eat up the bumps a little bit better because this one has a off-road tuned suspension. Yeah, it's not quite as soft, but still, as a daily driver, this is great. If you're thinking about buying this because you want to have the look and the functionality and live the lifestyle that Ford is projecting when it comes to the Bronco Sport, then you don't have to worry that it's going to be a terrible experience when you're driving on the road and going to work and stuff. It's going to be fine. So don't worry about that. When it comes to the full-on Broncos, we'll have to see, because something like the Jeep Wranglers, you know, they're good. They're really good as off-roaders. They're really good in the winter if you've got the right configuration on it, but the ride is pretty harsh. So don't worry, because this is still technically a crossover. It's on the same platform as the Escape. It's pretty comfortable. Power and performance is good too. 250 horsepower isn't anything to complain about. That's on regular fuel. You don't have to use premium like the Mazda CX-5. So if you're looking for power, it's got it there. It doesn't have quite as much torque as the CX-5, but I think the people who are buying this aren't necessarily buying it for raw power. So it's going to be a different experience than something like the CX-5 Signature, but I do like it. I haven't had any issues getting up to speed, passing slower traffic. It's been a breeze, and the fuel economy hasn't been too bad either. You can see our fuel economy numbers below. Pretty comparable to other vehicles in the segment. It's better than what Ford projects on their website, which is why we never go with those numbers. We always do our independent testing on it. So fuel economy numbers pretty good for this, considering it's not super aerodynamic, right? It's a big box on wheels. But what else can I tell you about this? I have really enjoyed it. You know, I was always excited to get into this and the regular Bronco. I wanted to see how they performed, and I really do like it. I could see myself buying something like this because even though I'm not really that much of an outdoorsy kind of guy, I still like the look of it. I like how it is on the road. I like the fact that it really does stand out as something unique. I do like the functionality of it, and I can see it being pretty useful for my day-to-day life. So I really do like the vehicle. I find that, yeah, Ford has done a pretty good job putting it all together. The thing is, though, I don't think they've really sold that much. I mean, when the first ones came out, when the absolute first ones hit the dealerships here in Quebec, they sold out of them immediately. But the second wave of vehicles, they've pretty much been sitting there for a while, because I drive by a number of dealerships and I see them. They're sitting. So I think that the initial wave of people who really wanted these, they got them, and now it's going to be sort of a tough sell to convince people to go up to this. And the thing is, you know, if it's my job to explain to you what the benefits and negatives are of this vehicle, yeah, there isn't much negative. Okay, it's pricey. Yeah, when you think about the base price at $41,000, I mean, that's already top-end compact crossover segment, and then you add on the options and features, yeah, I mean, it's $45,000 Canadian. That's quite a bit of change for a compact vehicle. It's quite a bit considering like 3 years ago when we were featuring these compact crossovers, 39 and change was the top end and you got everything. So pricing does keep on going up. That's one negative about it, but the problem is it's going up for everybody as well. But aside from that, though, I can't say that there's really anything negative about this. It's serving a niche market, and that's going to be the thing. It's not a vehicle for everybody. Because this is more geared towards a very small section of buyers, I don't expect these to be volume sellers for Ford. Maybe they will, but I think that for the most part, people who are going to be buying this probably already have some sort of light off-roading capabilities to begin with. Or maybe it's going to be their first one, but they're going to be looking at this as maybe a stepping stone to get into a bigger Bronco down the road. But there's, again, nothing wrong with that. It doesn't need to sell 200,000 units every year. It can be a small niche market. So that way, when you see one on the road, it's kind of exciting to see it. That's how I feel. I've spotted a couple of them so far since they've launched, and every time I'm always excited to see one. And now that I'm driving one, it's fun as well. I enjoy driving it, I enjoy showing it off to people. But when it comes to a compact vehicle, I gotta say, like I said, I would probably buy it. I know it's not necessarily the smartest financial choice, but most of the time, I'm not that kind of guy, right? I don't make good financial decisions. So I would probably get this one. I would get it in a slightly different color, but for the most part, it's kind of the way that I would go with it. Makes me very interested to see how the full Bronco will be. It's going to be more of an off-roader. It's going to have better tech, you know, with updated software and things like that. It's going to be bigger. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that will be on the road. And I'll also be interested to see how it does in terms of sales. Will it really eat in to the Jeep Wrangler? Because something like this is unique. You could argue like something like the Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk might be sort of comparable, but I really do feel that this has more off-road capabilities. It's just slightly better, and because of those accessories that you can add onto this, you have a lot more customization. So yeah, while the storage space on here might be smaller than it is on other compact crossovers, the fact that you can add a whole bunch of accessories to it can make or break the purchasing decision. Yeah, it's going to cost money. You got to buy all those accessories, but again, if Ford does it right, if they make the accessories compatible between this and the full Bronco, and with any subsequent changes and updates they make to the vehicles, they make those systems work. If they say, listen, Bronco is going to be its own ecosystem, we're going to make sure that the accessories work, you know, for a couple years, you know, a couple generations worth of vehicles, so that we don't have to go and rebuy everything, that would be great. Then that way you can just buy a whole bunch of stuff that you want, and, you know, maybe you change the car down the road and you still have those accessories work. So there's certainly some potential there. We're going to have to wait and see how the cards play out. Yeah, it's still pretty early days when it comes to the Bronco and Bronco Sport, so it's going to be a you know, kind of wait and see period when it comes to this. But I like it. It works. There's not much room for improvement for something like this, as I mentioned. You know, a couple small features here that they could add to it, but essentially you're getting exactly what was advertised when they launched this vehicle. It works for that segment of buyers. Are you interested in it? Is this a vehicle that you're thinking of buying or considering? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if this is something you're comparing to something else, and if you're curious to know more about it, I will do my best. I always try to get back to everybody who leaves a comment on the channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.